Okay, we're going to go now for the balance of the hour to one of my favorite guests and one of our listeners' favorite guests. He is pharmacist Ben Fuchs, was a mainline pharmacist for many years until he saw what it was doing to people. And he's developed many different products, different vitamin and mineral systems, skin systems, you name it. He's the host of the nationally syndicated radio program on GCN, The Bright Side. The Bright Side, again, is on GCN the hour before I am. Fuchs is a registered pharmacist, nutritionist, cosmetic chemist, and founder of the Econo Comp Pharmacy in Rocky Mountain Natural Laboratories. He's very successful. PharmacistBen.com, brightsideben.com. And I'll just recap this if you just joined us. I'm driving in Tuesday morning, and I get ready at home. So it's about 10 o'clock I leave. It's about 10:20. I get to the 10:30. I get to the office. I got to get in and do the show. I couldn't. I had to keep listening because he was covering what serotonin reuptake inhibitors do to the brain, what SRIs do, serotonin, just the basic systems. He was breaking it down, and so I called him. I had Richard call him, and I said, I want to get you on about what you were breaking down, because I've had all these brain surgeons and scientists on. They've said the same thing. You say it's so concise. Send me the documentation on that. I mean, I already know it, but send it to me. So he sent me this giant stack of inserts and documents and even mainstream news about placebos doing better than Prozac for you, and then many natural things really helping people that are depressed. So this is about solutions, and this is how people can safely, from the research, get off serotonin reuptake inhibitors and the natural things out there the FDA is trying to block you from getting. Then I'm going to ask him about things that help with allergies. But again, I also have this report, and we'll show TV viewers a document cam shot. Yahoo Finance, Alabama International, or AL International, announces results of longevity clinical research studies performed by Clemson University Institute of Nutraceutical Research. Unbelievable findings in scientific double-blind studies. And yes, we'll also do some pitching here to fund the operation. It's a win-win. I promote what I believe in. Not like government that takes your money at gunpoint, that uses it against you and gives it to MSNBC, or state-run media out of Qatar coming in and buying Al Gore's network to brainwash us. We're here saying, hey, we believe in this. These products are incredible. InfoWarsHealth.com, and he's going to go through many of the things he formulated available at InfoWarsHealth.com that have had unbelievable responses out there. Okay, so we're going to go over this, also talk about what he would do for, say, cedar allergy, or really mountain juniper, but they call it cedar allergy. I'm going to pick his brain about that. And again, Ben joins us, and I've got some of the questions. I said, send me questions that I should ask so I can understand this better and for people. So let's talk about the shootings. Let's talk about what SSRIs are doing and other psychotropics and antipsychotics that roughly 20% of the country's on. And then let's talk about, from his research, what has successfully helped people get off these and actually help people not be depressed in this Orwellian system, what the FDA doesn't want you to know about. Okay, so pharmacist Ben joins us right now. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Alex. It's a pleasure.
Okay, we're going to break in about 4 minutes, so start getting into these chemicals, what they're doing. The inserts say they make you mass murder. Why? The answer is give Big Pharma more money, more access to kids to stop mass shootings, always connected to these drugs.
Well, the most important thing, Alex, for people to recognize is that far from the happy, bliss-inducing, joy-inducing neurotransmitter hormone substance that serotonin is portrayed to be by the mainstream media and by mainstream medical professionals, it turns out that serotonin is a hormone of vigilance. It's a hormone of awareness. It's a hormone that's designed to keep us on our toes, so to speak. It's a daytime hormone that's designed to keep us able to handle the ups and downs and the vicissitudes of day-to-day life. So when you start to monkey around with this serotonin system, what you're monkeying around with is the awareness system, and the end result of too much serotonin is hyper-awareness, hyper-vigilance, paranoia, and this sense that this hyper-focused sense that people have when they're freaking out.
Artificial schizophrenia.
It's like a type of schizophrenia. In fact, LSD is very similar to serotonin. And
it's in the same class.
Same class, basically the same substance. Basically, it's the same molecule. And if you want to know what the effects of too much serotonin are, the kind of effects that you get when you start to manipulate the serotonin clearing system, which is how these SSRI drugs are, think of the last time you saw somebody on some kind of LSD trip. LSD was actually was discovered when they were researching ways to manipulate this serotonin system. So serotonin is a drug, a neurotransmitter that is involved with the vigilance response. Now, you obviously need to have this vigilance response, but you got to be very, very careful with it. In addition, serotonin is largely produced by stress cells in the digestive system. Your digestive system is always on the alert for poisons and for toxins, and you have these stress cells that are literally similar to adrenal cells that produce serotonin, just waiting for you to eat some kind of poison or some kind of toxin. So
is that why Prozac is linked to diabetes?
Prozac is linked to diabetes because for other reasons. We can get into that in a moment. That's a very important point. But that's why Prozac is used as an appetite suppressant. Prozac and serotonin has an effect on the digestive system that is much bigger than the effect that it has on the brain. In fact, 90% plus of the serotonin in your body is actually produced by these stress cells in the digestive system. So this feeling of butterflies in your stomach, the feeling of nervousness that you have before you have a date or if you have stage fright, these are all serotonin mediated. They are the alert response that's produced by serotonin in these digestive stress cells. In the brain, serotonin is involved in the wakefulness response. And if you want to know what serotonin really does, think about melatonin, which is the exact opposite of serotonin. And we all know that when you take melatonin, you feel groggy, you feel sleepy, you feel relaxed. Well, serotonin does the exact opposite. Melatonin is the antagonistic.
All right, we got to go to break, but from my research, but you're the big pharmacist and the expert, but what other experts were telling me, after you've been on these drugs a while, though, it burns you out, then they put you usually on more, then you're in a hyper-awake form of sleep. You're in a dream state or daydreaming state, but hyper-awake, having a hallucination, and that's why people then go and use a meat cleaver to chop up their one-year-old baby and drink the blood when the woman was a Sunday school teacher. We'll be right back. Stay with us. From the mainline research I've read, explain to me if it's hyper-awareness psychotropic in the hallucinogen class. Again, Alex Jones here with pharmacist Ben Fuchs, talking about these mass shootings and almost every case. People chopping up their kids, drowning them, killing them, women who never had a criminal record, Sunday school, they get depressed, put them on the drugs. A year later, they kill all 4 of their kids. You see it in the news. And they still send them to prison. The guy that killed 18 Afghans who had his foot blown off, he didn't want to go back, 4th tour of the sergeant. They put him on psychotropics. They won't release which ones, but he was under psychiatric care on them. And he flips out one night and goes and kills people. So if it's hyper-awake, how does it make you then not remember? Pharmacist Ben Fuchs.
Hyper-awake is one component of serotonin, but its real role is to help you handle shock and help you handle stress. So one of the mechanisms for handling stress is hyper-awareness, but another one is withdrawal. Another one is getting away from the situation. Another one is becoming numbed out. So these are all mechanisms that the body has for dealing with overwhelm, for dealing with stress, for dealing with some kind of shock. And this is what serotonin is, and that's why you never want to play around with this system, especially considering, by the way, Alex, that people suffer from serotonin depletion for lifestyle reasons, for reasons of choice. They suffer from serotonin depletion from too much sugar, for one. They suffer from serotonin depletion from not enough sun. Do you know the sun is one of the most important ways to build your own serotonin?
Hey, I was depressed last week, went and got a ton of sun. I feel like I could take on a grizzly bear right now. Break down what the sun does. Go through the metabolic facts. It's not like this is a secret. Big Pharma knows this, but the sun's free. All these vitamins that can give you all the stuff you need. Break down that one chemical you were talking about that's so key to giving you the good chemicals you need.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, there's so many, but...
Well, the point about the sun is we're convinced, we're bamboozled to believe that the sun is some kind of demon in the sky that's hell-bent on our destruction, when the fact of the matter is that through substances like serotonin, the sun is an anabolic substance, anabolic stimulus. It turns on growth. It turns on building. It's much the same with cholesterol. Cholesterol is the same way. It turns on growth. It turns on building. So via these messages that we get through the media and through mainstream physicians and the medical model for staying out of the sun, sun and using cholesterol-lowering drugs and not eating cholesterol, we're almost like we're being systematically destroyed. Humanity is being crushed. Our ability to grow, our ability to repair, our ability to recover, our ability to thrive is being suppressed by this kind of wrong information. So the sun, much like cholesterol, is not the enemy that it's portrayed to be, and via serotonin, the sun actually turns on the production of serotonin. So if you're considering an SSRI drug, you'd be far better off getting yourself 20 minutes of sun or getting a sun lamp, getting something that produces blue light, which seems to be much more effective for producing serotonin than any other light, and laying out in the sun without a sunscreen. The last thing you ever want to do, by the way, if you're interested in building your serotonin, is wear a sunscreen, because the sunscreen blocks the ultraviolet rays that turn on the production of this incredibly important substance. I would present to you that one of the main reasons we're dealing with serotonin problems is because we're so terrified of getting out in the sun.
Continue breaking this information down.
Melatonin is another one. Melatonin is converted from serotonin. So once your serotonin levels start to drop from things like not getting out in the sun or poor dietary strategies, then your melatonin levels drop as well. Then you deal with insomnia. Then you deal with problems with sleep, waking up in the middle of the night. Melatonin is one of the most powerful anti-aging substances, antioxidant substances, anti-cancer substances that you could use. So once you start playing around with this serotonin-melatonin balance, not only are you affecting your mood via serotonin, but you're affecting aging, you're affecting cancer, you're affecting youth and repair via suppressing melatonin. And here's another very important point that nobody talks about. Serotonin regulates something called learned helplessness. And learned helplessness is a phenomena where you just learn to feel helpless. You learn like you don't have any control over your life. You learn like you have no control over your decision making. Well, guess what, folks? Serotonin regulates this feeling of learned helplessness, and playing around with your serotonin levels, artificially manipulating your serotonin levels, increases the likelihood of this sensation of learned helplessness. And to me, this is one of the most insidious features of these SSRI drugs, and could very well be linked to the feelings of rage and violent behavior that a lot of people on Prozac and Zoloft.
Okay, we got to go to break, but when we come back in the long segment with pharmacist Ben Fuchs, listening to your show, you talked about 5-HTP. I'd love to say, hey, go to InfoWarsHealth.com. We've got products that have this for you, which there are some that help kick that in. But it's steaks, it's eggs, it's all these things. And I'm not bashing vegetarians. In fact, there's a lot of reasons to be a vegetarian. But if you're not getting these key things, I want you to explain this when we come back, you're not going to get the chemicals you need for some of the other things that are key in the brain. So tell people what will make them the happiest and the healthiest, because I got to be honest, I eat a ton of meat, a ton of eggs, and I feel like I could stomp King Kong into the ground. And I run into vegetarians, and I mean, they're ready to literally, you know, just hand me their car keys and let me slit their throat. We'll be right back with pharmacist Ben Fuchs. Ben Fuchs, like, this is your radio show now, because I'm actually going to turn off my microphone and walk out of the room, because this gets me so angry and so excited that I'll start cutting into you. In the rest of this segment, get into the tryptophan and the fact that they don't, you know, what's in meat. They don't want us getting that. Explain to somebody on Prozac. I know you're not their doctor or pharmacist, but what you would do personally. I say Prozac, the whole class of dozens of, 30 or 40 of these on the market or more right now. Some numbers are over 70, but they're not quite the same class. Well, you're the pharmacist. Break down what's not in our body, how they know this, why it says on the insert could make you cause mass murder, have schizophrenic, you know, mania. I've known women on it in college that were, every woman I knew on it was a nymphomaniac. I don't want to get into details here, but I didn't like that. I want the real woman. I want the real personality, not like some biological android. Why does this, obviously they want more crazy people, so they want to put you on something that makes you crazy. What are things out there naturally that would actually help people because of the deficiencies in this toxic system? You have the floor, break it down.
Well, there's so many things, there's so many ways, and we'll talk about that in a second, but I want people on SSRIs to understand this. The chemical imbalance theory of depression, the idea that depression is caused by a lack of serotonin and that you build your serotonin, you're not depressed. Number one, it's simplistic and naive, and number two, it's never been shown to be the case. In fact, drugs that block serotonin have been shown to have antidepressant activity just as well as drugs that increase serotonin. So please do not be fooled by the simplistic idea that all you do is raise your serotonin levels and you're not depressed anymore. That is drug company propaganda. That is marketing marketing and advertising information that has never been shown to be the case. That's first of all. What has been shown to be the case is that elevations in serotonin, super high levels of serotonin, such as the kind that are caused by artificially manipulating the serotonin system, are associated with agitation, with restlessness, with diarrhea, with hallucinations, with fast heartbeat. Serotonin itself, the very word serotonin, means sero for blood, tonin for tightening. That's because serotonin's classic effect is blood clotting and hypertension. Let me say that again. Serotonin's classic effect on the body is blood clotting and hypertension, and it's in the very name serotonin. Now, blood clotting and hypertension are two iconic signs of the body's stress response. And given the fact that 80 million or more Americans are hypertensive, and some of the best-selling drugs on the planet are blood-thinning drugs and among the most toxic drugs. So clearly blood clotting and hypertension are big problems in this country. It seems to me that anybody who's considering taking a drug that would manipulate serotonin levels, that would up serotonin levels, that would increase the amount of this neurotransmitter that's associated with blood clotting and hypertension, would want to think twice, especially considering that this chemical imbalance theory has never been shown to be the case. Now, what we do know is that serotonin is a hormone of awareness, it's a hormone of vigilance, it is a summertime hormone, it is a daytime hormone. It is associated with the sun and it's associated with light, which is why the best way to get your serotonin is to make sure you're getting some sunlight. And not only that, take your sunglasses off and make sure you're looking at the sun.
Absolutely.
The rays from the sun, the photonic energy from the sun will go through your eyes, it'll go into your brain, and it will help upregulate serotonin production. In addition, Alex, as you mentioned, there's wonderful, wonderful nutritional strategies that you can use to upregulate your serotonin system. Earlier, we talked about how digestive stress cells, they're called enterochromaffin cells, are the largest producers of serotonin in the body. One of the best ways that you can make sure that your serotonin system is running cleanly is to eliminate problem foods, number one, and that means any kind of foods that the body will perceive as a toxin. That is processed foods, that is things like excitotoxins, MSG, for example, artificial flavors. And secondly, make sure you're addressing something called H. pylori. And H. pylori is a bacteria that overgrows in the digestive tract as we get older and as our digestive system becomes more compromised, as our acid production in our digestive system in our stomach starts to become compromised. This bacteria overgrows, and that is a big-time stressor on the serotonin system, the digestive serotonin system. So addressing your digestive system by clearing out H. pylori using things like apple cider vinegar, for example, digestive enzymes, for example, probiotics, unbelievably important for supporting digestive health and supporting the serotonin, the digestive serotonin system. Then there's the supplements that you could take. You mentioned 5-HTP and tryptophan. Well, in order to understand the importance of tryptophan and 5-HTP when it comes to serotonin, we have to understand a little bit about how biochemistry works in the body. The body's always taking chemical A, turning it into chemical B, turning it into chemical C, turning it into chemical D, sort of like Tinker Toys. Imagine when you were a kid, you used to play with Tinker Toys, you stick a little piece in the Tinker Toy and you create some kind of little constructive piece, and then you put another piece on and it's a different constructive unit that you've created. You put another piece on and you've created a different constructive unit, and this is how chemicals work in the body. Well, serotonin starts off with tryptophan. Tryptophan gets one piece stuck on and it becomes 5-HTP or 5-hydroxytryptophan. You stick another piece on it and it becomes serotonin. But it all starts from tryptophan. So you say, well, gosh, tryptophan must be important stuff, and you better believe it's important stuff. Not only is tryptophan critical for making serotonin, but tryptophan is an essential amino acid, which means it must come in from the diet. You have to be eating tryptophan, and tryptophan is found exclusively in high protein foods. You could find a little bit perhaps in broccoli and asparagus, and you'll find some in soy, but most especially it's found in dairy, and it's found in meat, and it's especially found in high concentrations in whey protein. In fact, for anybody who's dealing with SSRIs or wants to get off of SSRIs, the first thing you want to think about is getting yourself on some good whey protein, a good whey protein supplement. If you can't handle it from a digestive standpoint, make sure you take it with digestive enzymes and a little bit of apple cider vinegar.
Just briefly, tell us about the new product.
Tryptophan will boost your serotonin levels, but there's another way that you can boost your serotonin levels, and that's by taking the direct precursor to serotonin, which is this stuff 5-HTP. Now, 5-HTP is unbelievably important and helpful for people who are dealing with depression, anxiety. It's a wonderful sleep aid. It's a wonderful anti-appetite or appetite suppressant. It'll help you lose weight. It's crazy cheap. It's like 10 or 15 bucks for a 3-month supply. You take about 100 milligrams or 200 milligrams a night, and that too will boost your serotonin. Now, when it comes to making serotonin in the brain, it's not just protein. Even though serotonin comes from tryptophan, it's not just protein foods that help you build serotonin. You actually have to have carbohydrate with your protein. So you want to make sure that you're getting carbohydrates, but you want to make sure it's not super fast burning carbohydrates like processed foods and soda pop and desserts. You want to make sure it's a carbohydrate that's got a lot of fiber in it, especially vegetable carbohydrates. There's a big problem, and there's an important relationship between sugar intake and serotonin. When you eat sugar, this is perceived biochemically by the body as a major stress. Sugar is very, very explosive stuff. If you ever put a marshmallow in a fire and you see the marshmallow go poof, you can see how explosive sugar is. Well, in the body, that same kind of explosivity, that same kind of explosive reaction occurs. And so when you eat sugar, especially fast-burning sugars, dessert kinds of sugars, soda pop kinds of sugars, the body's stress response is triggered, and this stress response involves serotonin. In fact, the hormone insulin and the hormone serotonin work hand in hand. And today we have a big problem. Maybe the biggest health crisis of all is something called insulin resistance, and this is when the body stops listening to insulin, and going hand in hand with insulin resistance is serotonin resistance. And just like insulin resistance will keep the body from listening to insulin, serotonin resistance will keep the body from listening to serotonin. Of course, then you're going to go to the doctor, and he's going to give you an SSRI drug, and when all you really need to do is reset this insulin system by reducing your intake of fast-burning sugars. So you want to make sure you're having some carbohydrate with your protein. You want to make sure it's fibery carbohydrate. You want to make sure you're getting enough protein, especially tryptophan-containing protein, and you want to make sure that you're getting 5-HTP. Now, in addition to all of this, there are cofactors that the brain uses, the body uses, to help make serotonin. Chief among these is vitamin C and the B complex, especially vitamin B6, and to a little bit lesser extent, minerals like zinc and magnesium.
That's why you need to take the Beyond Tangy Tangerine at InfoWarsHealth.com. I mean, it's simple. My children act like demons if I let them have processed sugar, but when we are on the job and only feed them organic and healthy food, they're little angels, and everything's great. If I'm on the road and I'm dumb enough to eat a piece of cake or something, I feel like I have a hangover the next day. Going over this, if people go to InfoWarsHealth.com, there's many of the products you and others and Dr. Wallach have formulated, and this is no joke, folks. What would you, again, we're not giving them the advice they should, because it's very dangerous to go off the serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and we have a report here we're going to show people in a moment. What would you do if you were, say, a 35-year-old man or woman who's been on psychotropics for, say, 6 years? They've got you on 3 of them because, quote, the others didn't work, and you don't know who you are anymore, and you know, you're kind of eating a regular McDonald's diet. What would be just the brief process that Ben Fuchs, and again, my dad's a dentist oral surgeon, the people he respects more than anybody aren't even doctors and people, it's pharmacists, because he knows, especially longtime master pharmacist, you guys kill people if you make a mistake. And so you guys really went to school to actually know what the drugs do, you know, I don't know, 20, 30 times what doctors do. So I mean, that's why you're the guy to talk to on this. What are the dangers of going off the serotonin reuptake inhibitors or other antipsychotic classes?
Well, first of all, we have to understand how serotonin reuptake inhibitors work. When the brain secretes serotonin, it immediately sucks that serotonin back up again. So serotonin will get released, and then it will get uptaken, reuptaken. It'll get sucked up back up again into the nerves so that it doesn't have too much of an effect. This is called reuptake, and it's a standard process that occurs in the body or in the brain.
It inhibits that.
Exactly. Reuptake inhibitors inhibit that process, so the serotonin stays in the system.
It creates a chemical imbalance.
A major chemical imbalance. That serotonin is artificially kept active. So you get off your serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and because this uptake mechanism has been shut down, now you got all of this serotonin reuptake, all of the serotonin that has left the nerve cells. You run into a major risk of serotonin depletion because the serotonin is not getting taken up back into the cells. So you want to make sure if you're going to get off of serotonin reuptake inhibitors, that you wean yourself off of them very slowly, and you build your serotonin levels back up by, number one, making sure you're getting out in the sun. Make sure you get 10 or 15 minutes of sun 3 or 4 days a week. You don't want to burn, but you want to make sure that you're getting some sun.
Yeah, the ultimate Prozac is climbing mountains. I'm telling you right now.
Absolutely. The ultimate Prozac is the great outdoors, nature and the divine force. That's the Prozac that
Oh, my God,
need.
I want more of it.
Right. You get out in the sun, and don't we all feel, Alex, don't we all feel better when we're out in the sun?
Are you kidding? If I had my way, all I'd do was climb mountains.
How do we let the medical model bamboozle us into thinking that the sun is this demon in the sky that's hell-bent on our destruction? You know, we've been bamboozled and entranced, and we believe this nonsense.
And then, as you point out, when we don't have the vitamins and minerals, we do get sunburned.
Well, that's another thing. If you want to prevent yourself from getting sunburn, make sure you're getting nutrients that get stored in your skin to protect you from the sun. Carotenes, flavonoids, vitamin C, zinc, vitamin E, they literally get deposited in your skin to protect you from the sun. And let me tell you something. Skin cancer rates are increasing dramatically despite the fact that
we're not in the sun.
Well, how do you like that? The sun is actually protective against skin cancer. The sun is protective against skin cancer, and people are using sunscreens like they're going out of style, and skin cancer rates are increasing by 100%.
Aluminum-based. We're going to come back. I want to talk about, again, somebody on these drugs, because I've got a schedule here from SSRstories.com, and, you know, it talks about warning. Going off this is a big deal. I mean, folks, you're on a LSD molecule, okay? So we're going to come back, and we're extremists. We're saying, you know, LSD's bad to give to kids, especially. You know, they're going to have a bad trip. And almost all these shooters and mothers that kill their kids, they're on it. Why do we send them to jail? Again, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have a dairy. I don't sell milk. I don't sell eggs. I don't sell beefsteak. There's a lot of contaminants in the beef and stuff now, as you know. There's some downsides to a bunch of meat, and even though I love every piece of it, because of the industrial system. We've got high-quality whey available, obviously, so I guess we do sell that in a way at InfoWarsHealth.com, and it's a great place to get it and support the broadcast, become a distributor by signing up with $10 and get discounts. You can sign up at InfoWarsHealth.com to get free shipping. There's over 400 products linked on there total. And, by the way, the root beer belly probiotic is one of the most amazing mixes of healthy bacteria that they've ever come out with. I'm using this myself. That's available. Tastes great. Kids love it. They can put it in water, stir it up. It tastes just like root beer. Well, I guess it is root beer without the sugar and stuff. It's all available at InfoWarsHealth.com. And also, if you're a radio listener and people complain, they go, hey, man, you know, give us the phone number. And so I will also give you that number, 888-636-9277 for customer service. If you're already a preferred member to get discounts, or you can just order right off the site, 888-636-9277. Or new customer product orders, 888-789-9277, 888-789-9277. And there's also an international order area there as well for people, Catherine at Infowars.com. And we have a whole team there of people, some of them pharmacists and others, when they answer the phone, others just trained by them, to answer your questions, InfoWarsHealth.com. This is a revolution, though, because I'll tell you this, Beyond Tangy Tangerine, Pollen Burst Plus, the essential fatty acids, all of it, it gets, what it's given me is more energy, because we always think of drugs as something magic to give us energy. No. We're designed for the minerals, the trace elements, the things we need. The government says we need 40-something vitamins and minerals. We need 90. And it's all available at InfoWarsHealth.com. Okay, so continuing, basically you're saying get out in the sunshine while you wean yourself off. There's different regimens online. Doctors say it takes about 2 months, generally, depending on the type. But you obviously consult one of the physicians. The problem is these psychologists aren't really physicians, and they'll tell you, stay on it, or their answer is more of it. Well, this isn't working. We'll stack them. You know, that'll fix it. So we're not telling you what to do. I'm saying get out, exercise, fresh air, Pray to God. That if you don't believe in that, meditate. All the studies show it works. For whatever reason, praying helps. There are no atheists in foxholes. Ben, what are some of the... I mean, why do the studies show, I've got them right here, that the praying helps?
Well, relaxation response. That's the reason why people have religion in the first place, is this idea that there's something that can help them, that can take control over their lives. I'm not a particularly religious person, but I'm a very spiritual person, and there's a lot of good that can be had by
when you pray, what are you focusing on? The great void, the great unknown, the universe. You're forgetting all this. The
magic of the body, the amazingness of nature, the cosmos. There's 100 trillion cells in your body, and each one of them has 18 feet of DNA. If you added all the DNA in your body, it would go 300 billion miles. You have a coordinated, tightly choreographed system that is beyond belief, just in a tiny cell of which you have 100 trillion. It's unbelievable, Alex. We're the most unbelievable creatures. We should be only focusing on that, let alone the cosmos that is trillions upon trillions of light years.
Look, one piece of human DNA, as you know, 3 billion long. 3 billion long, one piece. We are incredible.
Incredible. Alex, do you know what a cell is? A cell is a tiny, we talk about cells so glibly, but what is this thing? It's a tiny little animal that if you took it out of your body and put it in a petri dish, it would walk to food, it would run away from poison, it excretes, it reproduces, it has a skeletal system, and it's 1/100th the size of a head of a pin.
We're just like jellyfish. We are a colony creature. You know about that, don't you? The fact that our tissues make up a colony.
We are a colony. That's right. We're a 100 trillion cell colony. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Now we do have Sleep Ease that does have the chemicals, the 5-HTP in it, that then I guess gets converted over to the tryptophan and other things that the EPA took off the market with a fake scare a few decades ago. But the precursor of it, Sleep Ease, available at InfoWarsHealth.com right now. There in the huge catalog. But, Ben, you've agreed to stay another 20 minutes. What I'm going to do is we're going to come back in the next segment. I'm going to throw it to you to cover areas of this in general. Then I'm going to come back in a final segment. We're in overdrive right now. This is just, the reason I get so excited about all this is the truth is laying around all in front of us. And it really makes me mad at the power structure, because you're a nice guy. You say, well, most doctors and people don't know this. And that's actually true, because I know a lot of doctors. My dad knows a lot of them. But a lot of them in the power structure, they do know. And it's very cold-blooded that in double-blind studies, sugar pills better than Prozac, and actually makes... I mean, what's happening in Harris and Klebold and all these guys who are on these drugs when they go crazy and have that same million-mile stare, crazy man look on their face? What's happening to them when they're playing murder simulator video games and they're on 4 or 5 drugs and an amphetamine drug on top of it usually, and they go and kill everybody? I mean, they're highly suggestible.
Violence and paranoia are part of the hyper-vigilant response. Vigilance is important, you got to be aware, but this hyper-vigilant response is akin to paranoia. What we call paranoia can be defined as hyper-vigilance. When you start messing around with serotonin, pharmacologically manipulating its levels, keeping serotonin activity high artificially, you run the risk of this kind of paranoia hyper-vigilance, which is where rage comes from and rageful behavior comes from. You can't mess around with your brain chemistry artificially and not expect to create problems. And this whole idea of chemical imbalance manipulating the brain, Alex, do you think there's a test for serotonin? Do you think you go to a psychiatrist and he does a test to see how high your serotonin levels are?
They just put you on a quack drug.
They just give them to you. They just give them to you. That's exactly right. They give them to you like they're M&Ms or like they're candy. The fact of the matter is the history of psychiatry is not very pretty. The history of medicine in general is not very pretty. The
inventor of the lobotomy, as you know, 100 years ago, did thousands, where he would go before a carnival and take a mentally retarded person and jam an ice pick in their brain in front of people.
That's how they do. That's how they used to cure depression. They would hack your brain out, or electroconvulsive therapy, where they shock you into being happy. This is the history of psychiatry. But Alex, the question is why are we complicit? Why do we participate? Why do we listen to anything they tell us? When, like you say, the information is right there in plain sight, perhaps hidden in plain sight, but it's in plain sight. I sent you a stack of information. It took me all of 15 or 20 minutes to gather that information. It's everywhere. The fact of the matter is, if you do your research, you will see serotonin is a sunlight, daylight, awareness, vigilance hormone. And this is another very important point. Serotonin absorbs light. Serotonin contains tryptophan, or a tryptophan-like shape. Tryptophan itself contains light. Chlorophyll, which is the ultimate light-absorbing substance, gets its light-absorbing power from tryptophan. So when you eat tryptophan, not only do you upregulate serotonin, but you help your body utilize light. Alex, we are photosynthetic beings. We absorb light from the sun. That sunlight gets turned into batteries. It gets turned into biochemistry. It gets turned into physical matter, most especially serotonin. In fact, by the way, tryptophan is a part of our visual pigment. We actually see via the activity of tryptophan. We receive light from the sun in our eyes via the activity of tryptophan.
They're trying to block the tryptophan. By the way, I'm showing people images of public lobotomies. If you even misbehave, they just take you down and jam an ice pick up through the eyelid and right into your brain, into the cerebral cortex, and just randomly jiggle it, punching holes into your brain with pleasure. We're going to come back and continue to break this down with pharmacist Ben Fuchs, InfoWarsHealth.com. Ben, I'm going to give you the rest of this segment, about 10 minutes, to get into other facets, what you would do, why allergies are increasing, how people should detox, other things about what Prozac and other drugs are doing to people, what you would do with a child who's obviously, you know, bouncing off the walls. It's usually, they admit, what they've been eating. You've got the floor for the balance of this segment.
Alex, there's two great movements in the body. You have the movement towards stress and vigilance and awareness and fear, and you have the relaxation response. Growth and repair and anti-aging and healing all occur when the body is relaxed. Anything that exacerbates or exaggerates the stress response, serotonin, for example, prescription drugs, for example, sugar and processed food, for example, anything that exacerbates this stress response, this fear response, is going to shut down growth and repair. And this is why it seems to me like there's this, almost this insidious conspiracy to keep us from being able to grow, to keep us sick, to keep us from being able to repair, to accelerate the aging process. And this is why it's so important to avoid interacting with prescription drugs at all times, with the exception perhaps of pain pills if you're in pain, antibiotics obviously, although these days we hear about the problems with antibiotic resistance, which are, anybody who understands anything about antibiotics could have seen this one coming. But still, there's times when you need antibiotics perhaps. Aside from antibiotics and pain pills and perhaps chemotherapy, any prescription drugs need to be avoided like the plague, literally like the plague. If you're on an SSRI drug, if you're considering an SSRI drug, please consider the alternatives. Number one, get yourself out in the sun. Number two, make sure you're practicing deep breathing techniques. Number three, make sure you're getting enough salt for your adrenal glands. This is another hideous idea that we have to avoid salt. The fact of the matter is, salt is very important for helping the body, the adrenal glands and keeping your body from going into this fight or flight response. Make sure that you're using a nutritional supplement program, especially the B complex, which is not only important for making serotonin, but it's important for the stress response, and it's important for mental health as well. Make sure you're focusing on digestive wellness. The immune system is the digestive system in many ways. In fact, 80 to 90% of your immune system is located in the digestive tract. You talk about allergies, the number one cause of allergies, whether it's to cedarwood or whether it's to juniper or whether it's to pollen or whether it's to anything else, the number one cause is a stressed out immune system, especially considering the kind of foods that we're eating. If you're dealing with H. pylori bacteria, this is one of the main reasons why the body goes into a stress response. Address your H. pylori. That means get on probiotics. That means eat fermented foods. That means make sure that you're staying away from anything that has a negative effect on the digestive system, and use apple cider vinegar and digestive enzymes after your meals. If you have your gallbladder, keep it. Focus on fat absorption. That is the absorption of essential fatty acids and the absorption of fatty vitamins. If somebody tries to talk you into having your gallbladder removed, don't do it. Unless you have cancer in there, you need your gallbladder. 80 million Americans are dealing with fatty liver disease. If you go to a doctor today, he'll tell you, oh, it's just a normal part of aging. No, it's not a normal part of aging. In fact, they call it non-alcoholic fatty liver disease because they have to distinguish it from the kind of fatty liver disease that you used to have to drink a pint of Jack Daniels to get. Today, a pint of Jack Daniels every day to get. Today, we're all getting that kind of disease. Focus on liver wellness by eliminating processed foods. Make sure you're eating less calories and you're getting more nutrients. And this is one of the major reasons why a nutritional supplement program is so important. Use liquid nutrients and use liquid foods as much as possible. It will remove the load off of your digestive tract. Give yourself a food holiday periodically. Practice intermittent fasting. In fact, one of the most anabolic building strategies you could ever use is to practice intermittent fasting, where you take a food holiday, you take a day off from food once a month, once every couple of weeks. It will actually stimulate the production of building hormones. Do everything you can do to turn on the building response. The body is a healing system. It's a regenerating system. You are witness to this healing and regenerating system every time you cut yourself. You can see how the skin heals. Well, that same healing system that takes place in the skin takes place in the bones, takes place in the digestive tract, takes place in the nervous system, takes place in the liver, and throughout the body. Access this healing response that is your birthright. Nobody has to have a degenerative disease. In fact, we know that there's 1,200 different disease states. Well, really, there's only one disease state, and that is the disease of degeneration. And given that the body is a healing and regenerating system, nobody has to deal with this degenerative process. However, we have to participate. We have to take a role in our health. And that means not listening to the medical model. We have more doctors in this country per capita than any other country in the world, than any other country in the history of the world. We spend more money per capita on health, yet we are the sickest culture ever in the history of mankind. Clearly, the modern medical model has failed us. Ambulatory medicine, not heroic medicine where you get stitched up after you get hit by a car, but ambulatory medicine, this idea that you can go to the doctor for your blood pressure, you go to the doctor for your depression, you can go to the doctor for whatever kind of illness you have. Ambulatory medicine is not the answer. We are the answer. The divine force is the answer, and it works through simple things like deep breathing, simple things like getting out in the sun, simple things like eating whole food, simple things like getting on a nutritional supplement program, and simple things like spirituality and praying as well. And truly, health is a multi-dimensional process that works spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. All the dimensions have to be addressed. Spirituality is your business. Mentality means thinking correct thoughts. Every time you think a thought, Alex, it gets turned into biochemistry. Every time you feel a feeling, it gets turned into biochemistry. So making sure you're thinking clearly, you're not thinking fear thoughts, you're thinking powerful thoughts, making sure you're addressing the emotional aspects of reality of your life, and making sure that you're focusing on physical well-being through the correct foods, through sunlight, through oxygen. And don't forget about a good exercise program. The body thrives under conditions of small amounts of stress. Stress is not a four-letter word. Small amounts of stress actually turn on this building process. The body likes small amounts of stress and long, luscious, long periods of rest. And this combination of stress and rest with appropriate nutrition and nutritional strategies, along with mental and emotional strategies, is the key to wellness and the key to health. And nobody has to deal with degenerative disease. They are all reversible, including cancer, FYI.
Amazing information. In fact, let's do one more segment and come back with this longevity news that I've got. Here it is. This is out of Yahoo Finance. AL International announces results of longevity clinical research studies performed by Clemson University Institute of Nutramedical Research. Have you seen this?
I love it, Alex. I used to, medical professionals, they need to see paperwork. Fine. There's the paperwork. I've been seeing it for 20 years. The paperwork I get is letters. That's my paperwork. Letters from people who tried to be on Tangerine. So now there's credentialed letters. There's credentialed information from Clemson University, and I love it. And that's some powerful stuff, Alex.
And they're the best, and that's what we carry at InfoWarsHealth.com. In closing, pharmacist Ben Fuchs is here with us, and this information is just amazing. And he looks 20 years younger than he actually is. InfoWarsHealth.com. I'm going to get this press release added up there to that site. I'm also going to get it added to InfoWars.com. Briefly, tell us about the announcement by the clinical research studies performed by Clemson University and what they found about Beyond Tangy Tangerine and some of the other products at InfoWarsHealth.com.
Let me tell you something, Alex. People always want to know if they want one thing that they could do just to see how well this stuff works. And I'm telling you, if you try the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, there's no way you will not become a believer in nutrition. And it's because of this unbelievable concentration of nutrients in a liquid format. The digestive system, the system that's designed to, by nature, to absorb nutrients, over time becomes so overwhelmed that no matter what we're eating, especially, or no matter what we're taking, especially in terms of nutritional supplements that come in pills and in food and nutritional value of foods, we don't get the benefit of these things because our digestive system starts to break down. When you get your nutrients in a liquid format, whether you're talking about soups or smoothies or vegetable juices or the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, you give your body nutrients with no work.
That's why when you're sick, you want the chicken soup.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. When you're sick, you want the Jewish penicillin. You want the chicken soup because you're getting the protein and you're getting the immune factors and you're getting the sugars, the complex sugars that support your immune system. And you're getting that chemical that's so key that's in the meat. I'm not sure which one that is, but you're getting lots of great protein in the meat, and you're getting it in a liquid. You know,
the one that's
format.
In turkey. It keeps escaping.
You're talking about tryptophan. That's the famous tryptophan. That's the famous tryptophan that we're talking about, and that's why they talk about tryptophan as being a sleepy kind of substance because it's so relaxing. That's another story. But the fact,
see how that's the real Prozac right there.
That's your natural Prozac, 5-HTP and tryptophan.
Now that you're sleepy, you're finally gotten relaxed.
You're relaxed, exactly. That's exactly right. Now, but back to your question about this Clemson study, what they found was exactly what I've been saying for years since I started using the longevity products back in the late 90s. When you take your nutrients in a liquid fashion, you notice results, and you notice them quickly. And the kind of results you get are global results. They're non-specific results. You lose weight. You have more energy. You feel better. You're not sleeping as much. You're not sick as much. There are these kind of vague, sort of broad, non-specific benefits that just affect the entire body. And that's why people lose weight without even trying. Do you know, Alex, that's the #1 thing people say when they're on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. They lost weight and it wasn't even hard. And that is the beauty of a nutritional supplement program. You get healthy and it doesn't require a lot of work because you know what? It's your birthright. It's our birthright. This healing system is built into every one of the 100 trillion cells of the body, and let nobody tell you that you have to take a drug or you have to have surgery or you have to have some doctor's interference in order for you to be able to access this healing power.
Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, thanks for spending an hour and a half with us today, or almost that much time, and we'll talk to you very, very soon. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. My pleasure, Alex.